vehicles advancing toward Chasov Yar, or an armored personnel carrier hitting a mine while moving along a marked safety line. Russian forces have faced similar issues since such assaults time and again. Let's take a closer look at the details of these operations. A large convoy is advancing toward the city of Chasov Yar. This Russian column, made up of 6 vehicles, is already on the move. Despite many targets being destroyed along the route, the Russians press forward. Ukrainian defenders are fully prepared. One of the armored personnel carriers hits a mine. The vehicle loses control, swerves to the roadside, and clears the way for the rest. Moments later, Javelin missiles come into play, a direct hit. The next APC also strikes, deploying infantry into the industrial zone. As the advance grows increasingly dangerous, Ukrainian drones enter the fight. The first target is struck directly, chaos erupts. A retreating tank runs over a mine. Another personnel carrier is locked onto by a drone and destroyed with a direct strike. A second vehicle trying to push forward is also hit by a UAV and bursts into flames. Yet the operation is far from over. The scattered Russian units attempt to deploy more infantry, but Ukrainian drones are watching closely. Another mine stops an approaching vehicle. As the smoke clears, drones begin dropping explosives. Successive hits leave the enemy helpless. The armored vehicle is rendered inoperative. Even when another APC tries to advance, the Ukrainian drones tailing it make survival impossible. Explosions rip its turret off and hurl it into the air. One vehicle manages to drop troops at a building, but it turns out to be a trap. As they try to escape, an RPG takes out the target. AFU soldiers prepare for the next strike. First, drones hammer the building, followed by RPG fire. From a distance, a precise shot brings the structure down, leaving no chance for those inside. Realizing the danger, Russian armored vehicles attempt to pull back. The first hits a mine, while others continue on. Ukrainian artillery tries to block their escape, but can't succeed. Still, a javelin strike from an AFU soldier finds its mark. Another direct hit follows. The operation collapses completely. Soon after, the Russians attempt another assault on the city. Reconnaissance aircraft detect 2 APCs and 17 infantry preparing for the attack. The soldiers split into 3 groups and move in different directions. Ukrainian artillery opens fire, panic spreads among the enemy. Infantry scatter toward bunkers while one APC attempts to withdraw. Artillery fire intensifies with standard shells and cluster munitions raining down. One group is spotted by an APC, coordinates are relayed, and moments later, a massive blast sends shrapnel flying everywhere. More strikes follow, sealing the fate of the operation. The Russian troops fail to secure any position. A nearby Ukrainian drone detects the movement of Russian troops. Soldiers advancing along the pipelines believe this area to be a safe shelter. But within moments, Ukrainian UAVs appear in the sky. The first drone approaches the pipeline. Without unnecessary maneuvers, it moves forward slowly and steadily, entering its target zone. The pilot notices a defensive position ahead. The target is eliminated, and the mission is successfully accomplished. Immediately after, a second drone takes off. As it dives deeper toward Russian bunkers, an obstacle appears in its path. The strike is carried out, the way is cleared. The third drone bypasses defensive strongholds, slips inside, and delivers the final blow. The mission ends, once again showcasing the skill and precision of Ukrainian pilots. The enemy remains under a severe threat. To prevent retreat, Ukrainian drones target Russian vehicles. Each UAV completes its mission with a single strike. Destroyed vehicles erupt into flames, reduced to smoldering wrecks. In the Pokrovsk area, Ukrainian artillery engages Russian tanks. Shells land close to the convoy, yet the armored column keeps advancing. The first direct strike comes from a UAV, forcing a tank into a nearby shell crater. Heavy artillery fire halts the rest of the convoy. Soldiers abandon their armored vehicles while artillery continues pounding the immobilized targets. The offensive collapses. The lead tank is destroyed by a Ukrainian drone. With just one hit, the tank bursts into flames and is quickly reduced to burnt-out scrap. Two armored personnel carriers try to push toward the city but divert into a nearby field. Ukrainian artillery attempts to intercept. One carrier charges at maximum speed, making it difficult to hit. However, a Ukrainian UAV intervenes. With a precise strike, the vehicle is stopped. Infantry scatter, and the drone drops its explosives. Russian troops try to shoot down the UAVs, but fail. The second armored personnel carrier runs over a mine. The breakthrough attempt ends in failure. A similar scenario unfolds in the Kupiansk region. Russian troops prepare for an assault, sending armored personnel carriers across a field in an unusual maneuver, but a mine blocks their path. The vehicle halts in the middle of the field. This isn't the end. AFU forces strike the area with cluster munitions. Another armored personnel carrier rushing in to assist is destroyed by another failed assault. Now come the tank scenes. A tank attempting to advance comes to a stop in the middle of the road. Drones take off into the sky. The first attack lands. The tank suffers heavy damage and becomes immobile. Engine failure seems likely. The crew tries to fire its cannon at the drones, but fails. Smoke pours out, maneuvers are attempted, but nothing works. A call for reinforcements is made. The tank sent for assistance becomes the next target of a Ukrainian UAV. As infantry try to move from one vehicle to another, the drone catches them. With a single strike, the target is destroyed. Soldiers scattered. The entire operation turns into a disaster. The following footage is particularly striking. A Russian armored personnel carrier heads into a wooded area. At the very same spot, two armored vehicles and a tank were previously destroyed by mines. A Russian soldier had drawn a mark on the ground to indicate that the path was safe. The carrier follows this track. Yet just ahead lies the real surprise: a concealed mine. The explosion sends smoke billowing into the sky. Panic breaks out and infantry flee toward the forest. Like the others, this attempt also ends in failure. In recent months, Ukrainian forces have intensified their efforts to disrupt Russian supply lines, launching a series of devastating convoy attacks that have shaken the enemy's ability to sustain operations near the front. The Pokrovsk sector has emerged as one of the key battlegrounds where these tactics are most visible, revealing how carefully planned strikes can paralyze entire formations. Russian troops, relying heavily on long convoys of fuel trucks, armored vehicles, and supply transports, continue to push men and equipment into contested zones. Yet these columns, often stretched across exposed roads and fields, have become increasingly vulnerable to Ukrainian strikes. Drones, artillery, and precision-guided munitions have all played a role in dismantling these convoys before they can reach their designated positions. Every destroyed truck or tank not only reduces the enemy's firepower, but also sends a chilling message. Logistical security no longer exists for Russian forces in these areas. Pokrovsk, in particular, has turned into a graveyard for armored vehicles. Ukrainian forces, combining aerial reconnaissance with rapid artillery adjustments, have mastered the art of striking moving targets before they have time to disperse. Tanks advancing toward the city are intercepted with drone attacks, while armored personnel carriers attempting to break through Ukrainian defenses are halted by mines or ambushed by UAVs. What is striking in this sector is not just the destruction itself, but the coordinated nature of the operations. Each Ukrainian strike seems to fit into a larger pattern. Drones first disorient and damage, artillery follows up with heavy shelling, and additional UAVs finish off the survivors. This layered strategy ensures that Russian advances collapse before they can even begin to build momentum. Similar scenes unfold in Kupiansk and other critical regions where Russian forces continue to test Ukrainian defenses with mechanized pushes. Here, armored convoys attempt to cross open fields, only to be trapped by carefully laid minefields. When vehicles are immobilized, they become easy prey for Ukrainian drones circling overhead. Even when Russian troops attempt to send reinforcements to rescue stranded units, those reinforcements themselves are targeted, creating a chain reaction of losses. The battlefield becomes a cycle where one failed assault leads directly to the destruction of the next wave. Beyond the immediate tactical victories, these convoy attacks carry a deeper strategic weight. By consistently targeting Russian logistics, Ukraine forces its adversary into a state of perpetual uncertainty. Supplies cannot move without risk. Reinforcements cannot be deployed without fear of ambush. And armored units cannot maneuver freely without this constant shadow of drones overhead. This erosion of confidence is perhaps as damaging as the physical destruction of vehicles. Soldiers who march into battle aware that their convoys may never arrive intact are soldiers already fighting with a broken spirit. The importance of Pokrovsk lies not only in its geography, but in the psychological battlefield it represents. Russian forces have tried repeatedly to seize ground in this area, believing it to be a gateway to further advances. Yet every attempt has been met with precise Ukrainian countermeasures. Tanks set ablaze on roads, armored carriers reduced to smoldering wrecks, and convoys scattered in panic. These images symbolize the futility of continued Russian offensives. Each failure strengthens Ukrainian morale and sends a clear signal. The defenders remain in control, and the attackers are paying a heavy price for every step forward. What emerges from these operations is a picture of modern warfare where mobility and supply are just as decisive as firepower. Ukrainian forces have understood that by severing the arteries that feed the Russian war machine, they can weaken the body of the invasion itself. Convoy attacks are not isolated strikes, but part of a broader strategy to erode Russia's ability to wage sustained operations across multiple fronts. The success in Pokrovsk and other regions demonstrates that even in the face of overwhelming numbers, agility, precision, and strategic foresight can tilt the balance of the battlefield. As the conflict evolves, these operations will continue to shape the course of the war. Every destroyed convoy, every intercepted tank column, and every shattered assault adds up to a greater truth. The Russian advance is being methodically dismantled,